Hi everyone, this is Brian Schultz with Partner Communications Cooperative in Gilman, Iowa. Today we're going to talk about how to use Word. Word is one of the most commonly used programs, but we get a lot of questions about how to do things with Word, so we're going to go through some basics to create a basic document. First of all, we're going to talk about what you're going to see at the top. When your Word program is open, you'll see I'm going to talk about tabs a lot, and there are going to be different tabs you can click on up here. The Home tab is primarily where I like to live when I'm using Word. Basically, you can do most of the common word processing tasks from Home. Insert lets you insert everything from entire new pages within your whole document to pictures, tables. So we're going to work a little bit with Insert. Page Layout is where you can set margins. Maybe if you want your page to run horizontally, or they call that landscape, you can do it that way. Even change the size of the paper or the page that you're going to be printing on. References, you can make a table of contents, insert footnotes, things like that if you're creating professional or scholastic documents. Mailings lets you create a mailing list and then simply print to a bunch of envelopes. That's a really neat option. Review, you can run spell check from the Review tab. Maybe you need to look up an option for a different word. And then View, I don't really play with View a whole lot, but you can change what the screen actually looks like within Word. I prefer Print Layout simply because I can see rulers on the top and side, and kind of gives me just a general overview of what the entire document's going to look like. So let's start with the Home tab and just get a document going. So I'm going to type in how to Okay, so I've started typing, and Word has automatically suggested a font for me. A font is basically the shape of the letters. So we're going to talk about some basics on how to change text. What you'll want to do is use your left mouse button, hold it down, and just run right across whatever text, as large or small as you want to adjust. When you have it where you want, let go. Now you'll see that this is highlighted. What I can do from here is I can actually adjust whatever is highlighted. Whether I'm going to adjust, I can make it bold, for example. If I want to unbold that, I just click on the B again. Italicize, unitalicize it by clicking again. Underline it, click again. But one thing that a lot of people like to do is they like to change the font. Maybe you want to get fancy, or maybe you want to find a font that's easier for you to read for whatever reason. So you can Word provides a great deal of fonts, and you'll notice as I scroll over these, it just automatically changes, so I know what it would look like. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. I like this Calibri, so I'm going to leave it there. So now that I'm still highlighted over this, I could perhaps change the color, things like that. We'll get to that a little bit more. But another way that you can make fast adjustments is you'll see over here in Styles, and it's on Normal. Maybe I know this is going to be the heading for a document, so I can click on Heading, and then instead of having to go, if I had multiple headings, instead of having to go back every time and adjust the size, which I haven't talked about yet, I can adjust the size of the font that way. On most documents, I wouldn't go any smaller than 10. I think 12 is usually pretty good. But again, going back to these styles, there are some automatic setups for you. I know this is the title of a document, so I click on Title, or I hover over Title, and it shows me that's what it would look like. I happen to like that, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and now we have a title going. And I am going to click out of that. One quick note is Word will do corrections for you automatically, or a lot of times it will warn you. Now that it knows this is a title, this is saying, hey, this little green squiggly underline is telling me that I have a grammar issue. I don't want that capitalized. So I just clicked right before it, deleted it, and then typed in a small t. So now I have my title, Now, since this is a title, they know the next line will not be a second title. So if I just enter out of this, you'll notice that my style went back to normal. So that's kind of a cool thing. So I am going to start typing in a sentence so we can do some more adjustments and see how this all ties together. And you'll see if I make any spelling errors along the way. Sometimes it will automatically correct them. And sometimes it doesn't. That's why I always advise running spell check at the end, and also just looking at the document yourself before. And again, you see this little green squiggly came over, and it's telling me there's a problem. When I look at this, I can see I have an extra space in there, so I simply hover over where I want, click. You know, if I delete, I delete that space. Now I'm going to go back to where I was, so I click. And keep typing. Okay. So I'm going to stop there for a reason. First of all, let's talk about adjusting text some more. Maybe you want to highlight something within a paragraph to make it stand out more. So again, left click, scroll over whatever you want to adjust, and there's some more options. I can literally highlight this text with this highlighter tool. If I click on this, it is showing yellow. So if I just click, that's going to change the highlight to yellow. If I actually re-highlight this, I click the highlight button, and now I've changed that to blue. I actually don't like any of that. I'm going back to no color. I'm going to scroll over all this again, and now we're back to no color. And I don't want to highlight anything, so I'm going to hit stop highlighting. Basically, if you ever get confused, just remember, if you save your document often enough, if you make an error, just go back to the last time you saved, and you'll be okay. But you really can't wreck your computer from Word, so I encourage you to play around. There are literally tens of thousands of combinations of things to do. I certainly don't know all of them, but you just kind of explore and play around. So again, I want to make this stand out. I decided after looking at it, I didn't want to highlight. Another way to stop highlighting is to, I'll highlight this again and show you. Another way to stop highlighting is I've highlighted it. I decided I didn't like it, so I'm going to go back, scroll over that entire text, and if I click the highlight button again, it takes away what I just did. So that's one way to undo it. But I don't want to highlight. I don't particularly like it, so I think I'm going to italicize this, and I'm going to change the font color. It happens to be set on red. If I click the arrow, that arrow up in these menu parts will normally give you some kind of a drop-down menu, and then you can change and adjust on the fly. Red really stands out, so I'm going to leave it as red. Now, the reason that I stopped here is let's talk a little bit about organization. Maybe you want to make a list, and instead of having to type 1, 2, 3, 4, we're actually going to type fast and do a list quickly. So some things that we're going to do. Spicing things up. All right, so I've actually typed a few separate lines, and I want to turn them into lists. If I highlight those lines and I go up here, you're going to see there are a bunch of different list options. I can create a bullet list, for example, and if I hover over there, it'll tell me what I'm going to do if you hover over any of these icons up on the top. I'm going to pull up the scroll down menu, and as you see, if I choose these different shapes, it will make different shaped bullets. One of my favorites happens to be this dual colored arrow. So I'm going to click on that, and now I have a bullet list. If I didn't want bullets, but I wanted a numbered list, or maybe I wanted letters, I simply click on the appropriate list that way. If I was making an outline, I could even go into this multi-level list, and if I hit enter after a line and then tab or indent another line, it will go from 1 to A to B to C, like your traditional outlines. There are a bunch of different ways to do that, but I like the bullet list. So I'm done with my bullet list, so I try to get out of it, and I have it wants to continue making a bullet list. One really easy way to take care of that problem is to go back up here and click on none, and now I'm out of the bullet list, and you'll see my text is back to normal. The bullets are no longer highlighted, so I know where I'm at. To save some time, I'm not going to keep typing. I have cut and pasted some basically gobbledygook text just so we can fill this document up quickly. And I'm going to show you how to cut and paste while I'm at it. So I'm actually going to get some text on here. Now, I must not have been far enough away from my bullet list. So again, I'm going to highlight what I just did, and I'm going to go back up to, for example, my bullet list, and click on none. See, it was no problem. I must have been a little close, and it still pulled that formatting down to what I had put on the page. So anyway, now that we have normal text on here, I want to show you how to copy and paste. There are a couple ways to do it. You can certainly highlight your text, and if you right-click on what you've highlighted, it's going to give you a copy option. And I clicked on that. Now I'm going to click out of that, and if I right-click where I just went, it's going to give me a paste option, and I can paste the text from that clipboard. A really quick way to do it, kind of a pro user tip, is highlight whatever you want to copy, hit Control C, and that will copy it, and then click on wherever you want to paste, and hit Control V, and it will paste whatever was copied on your clipboard. So imagine this is all just normal text and it's not gobbledygook, and I have the text laid out on my document. You know, I think this looks kind of plain, so what are some things that I can do? One of the things that you can do is add photography or images. Just to keep things straight in my head, you can really add them in anywhere in your document, but I kind of like to start about where I think I'm going to end up. And I think down here, let's say this was a sales tool, for example, and I'm going to send this flyer to somebody, and I want to put a product photo in here. So I'm going to click about where I think I want to insert the photo, and just go back up to your tabs, click on Insert, and it's going to give you an option. You can insert tables, all kinds of things. I know that I have a picture saved to my computer I want to insert. So I click on Picture, and it will pull up, it's going to pull up basically the browsing function on your computer. If you know where your photos are saved, some people save them on their desktop. Some people have a pictures library like I do. So I have a pictures library. I'm going to click in the folder where I saved the picture, and let's say I want to highlight these fobs. So I'm just going to click on that and hit Insert. So what's happened is it's bringing in the picture in the size in which it was saved. This picture was much too large to fit up in here and keep everything on the same page. So it's actually created extra pages on my document automatically. I don't need a picture that huge. It looks silly. Before I resize this, let's go over how you can adjust size on a picture within Word. You'll see that if I scroll over and I hover over the corner, I get these diagonal looking arrows. That means if I click and drag, I can increase or decrease the size, and it keeps everything in proportion. If I go to a square on the top, that means that I'm going to smush the photo down. It's just going to make it smaller, but it won't make it. It'll make it shorter, but not narrower. If I click on the side, I can make the picture skinny, but it's going to stay tall, and that makes it look out of proportion. So generally, if you want to resize a photo, you're going to go to a corner, and you're going to click on a corner, and I haven't unclicked yet, but I'm dragging, and you see how I can resize up and down. I'm going to drag this down and make it smaller, get it toward the size I want. Now it's put it back about where I wanted it in my document. It's kicked me to a second page, which I don't really want. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I clicked on that corner again, and it's making it smaller, and I can continue to adjust that until I get it to the size I want. That's got my flyer back to about the same size. There's some more options I can also do. For example, if you hover over your photo anywhere but these side buttons, you'll see you'll get a little four little arrows. That's a little bit easier to see. If you click and drag, then you can drag this all over the document. I happen to like where this is, so I'm not going to do that. If you hover over this green arrow, you can actually rotate and get kind of a neat effect. Maybe if you wanted this to look like it was a scrapbook and you were adding multiple photos, that'd be kind of a neat effect. Again, I don't want to do that. There's some other things that you can do with a photo. For example, if I want to change where this is, I'm going to scroll up so you can see this a little bit better. But if I click on position, and I had still been clicked on that photo, if I go up into position and I hover over these, it'll show me, well, I'm going to put it in the middle, I'm going to put it on the side, in line with text. There are all kinds of things you can do. When you see that it says text wrapping, that's a really useful thing. That means that the text is simply going to wrap around the image. I like that. You can also adjust that right next door in this wrap text menu, and that gives you a bunch of different options, including putting it behind the text. Maybe you wanted your text to run over your photo for some reason, and you can do a lot of neat things. I happen to like this tight. That makes it just kind of everything kind of flow. So that's basically how you add a photo. You notice while I've been there, this took me to Format and Picture Tools. If I wanted to go back and start working with my layout or my text again, remember I talked about tabs. Just go back over to Home, and now that changes all of our menu back to where we need to be. I'm still highlighted up here because I'd still clicked on my, I had still had my picture clicked on. So if I click off that, now I'm back into my text and I can click anywhere. There are a couple other things that I think I want to do. I want to spice this thing up a little bit, so I've clicked up at the top, and I want to add a shape. So I clicked on Insert. I'm going into Shape, and if I click on that, it brings me all kinds of really neat shapes. And since I said this was going to be a sales tool, I want a starburst that's going to highlight, maybe that it's a sale. So let's just choose this starburst. I've clicked on it. Now when I got back onto my document, you'll see that I have a crosshair. If I left click and drag, you can see how I can change the shape and the size of this starburst. And then when you get about where you want, you let off your left button, and it drops it onto the document. You'll see that it says Shape Styles up here. You'll see this is changing colors. One thing that's kind of neat is I think I'm going to change this to the color that matches my photo. So I just found this orange here. I like that. So that's great, but how do I get text on there? If I right click onto that shape, you see it gives me an option to add text, or I can do things like edit points, and that would actually let me maybe make little sections of the star stick way out. But I want to add text, so if I click on Add Text, a blinking cursor has now appeared in my starburst. I'm going to click on Sale. Now that looks kind of small to me, so I'm going to highlight this. Since I've inserted this image, remember now I'm back into kind of back into how you would adjust an image or a shape. So to remember, I'm going to go Home when I want to mess with my font. And I'm going to make this bold, and let's make it slightly larger. So I'm going to click on this drop-down menu from these next to my font, and I'm going to make that slightly larger until I get it where I want. And I think that looks pretty good. When I want to get out of adjusting that image, again, I'm just going to click off that, and now I have my document. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to add things in, and it's even easy to move things around. Again, if I wanted to move something, I can click on it. I can make it larger, smaller. I can drag it around the document if I wanted to. There are all kinds of things that you can do. And I would just encourage you to keep playing with Word and have some fun with it. Again, if you save often, if you make a mistake, it's really easy to go back to the previous time you saved and start over. You can't hurt your computer by working in Word. So those are some of the basics. Keep watching our videos, and we'll keep teaching you how to use your computer effectively. Thank you.